Showing your stomach when summer arrives, and you have some belly fat is perfectly normal in Russia and other post-Soviet countries. Wearing a loose shirt or a tank top is also common. However, in Japan, despite the summers being even hotter than in my hometown, this is not the case. The Japanese climate, characterized by high humidity and temperatures exceeding 30 degrees Celsius in many regions during peak summer months, necessitates different clothing choices due to cultural norms and etiquette. Many Japanese people prefer lighter, loose-fitting clothing that provides more coverage. Wearing tank tops, even in hot weather, elicits negative comments from some Japanese people, a reaction I find perplexing. While short skirts and other revealing clothing are acceptable, showing shoulders or a midriff is not. This contrasts sharply with the common practice in Russia and Ukraine, where wearing sleeveless shirts during summer is completely normal. The prevalence of air conditioning in many Japanese buildings may also influence clothing choices, leading to fewer instances of individuals showing skin in public spaces. Talking on your phone on public transport is perfectly acceptable and widespread in Russia and Ukraine. It's common to hear conversations between friends or even business calls. In Japan, however, announcements frequently prohibit phone calls on public transport and in other public areas. While general conversation isn't forbidden, it's uncommon, with many people adhering to the unspoken rule of quiet commutes. This is reflective of the general Japanese emphasis on quiet and considerate behavior in public spaces. The prevalence of quiet, personal enjoyment of media through headphones is more typical. Dyeing your hair is very common in Russia and Ukraine, with vibrant colors becoming increasingly popular among young people, a trend reflecting global fashion influences. Only excessively unusual colors might draw attention. In Japan, however, dyeing your hair is a significant event, often only undertaken during university years. Strict school regulations, particularly in high schools, prohibit any hair dyeing or styling that deviates from natural hair color. After university, dyed hair can be a hindrance to employment prospects in certain traditional sectors. Natural brown or black hair is far more common in Japan among both men and women, reflecting the country's emphasis on conformity and professional presentation. Pierced ears are another point of difference. In Russia and Ukraine, piercing a child's ears at a young age is relatively normal. Many parents believe the child will experience less pain and that it's convenient to get it done early. In contrast, this practice is widely frowned upon in Japanese schools, even for older students, and can similarly impact employment opportunities. This is indicative of Japan's broader social emphasis on conformity and adherence to established norms and traditional values. The level of unsolicited comments from strangers about your appearance or actions is drastically different. In Russia and Ukraine, it's common for strangers to offer unsolicited advice or comments, sometimes even relating to private matters like relationships. This directness often stems from a culture of close-knit communities and a sense of shared responsibility. In Japan, such actions are incredibly uncommon. People generally avoid interfering in others' personal affairs, preferring to maintain social distance and respectful privacy. Asking for directions reflects this contrasting attitude. In Russia and Ukraine, people may be hesitant to assist or offer vague directions, even if they do know the way. Conversely, Japanese people, despite their reticence in casual interactions, will go to considerable lengths to help someone find their way, even contacting others for assistance or seeking help from authorities. This highlights the Japanese emphasis on collective responsibility and problem-solving. Visiting friends and family is significantly more casual in Russia and Ukraine, with visits to friends of friends being common occurrences. In Japan, inviting someone to your home is a considerable commitment, indicating a higher level of friendship and trust. This is due in part to Japanese culture emphasizing the importance of personal space and the formality of social relationships. Eating on the go is perfectly acceptable in Russia and Ukraine. In Japan, however, there's a far greater emphasis on formal dining experiences, and eating while walking is generally considered impolite. The Japanese culinary culture, a major aspect of their identity, is celebrated through highly refined presentation and rituals, influencing how and where food is consumed. The use of rhetorical questions also differs drastically. Russian conversations frequently employ rhetorical questions, often integrated into the flow of conversation, and are often understood implicitly rather than as a question. In Japanese, however, rhetorical questions can be easily misinterpreted due to a more direct and literal interpretation of language. The use of sarcasm is another point of divergence. Sarcasm is common in Russian speech, but it is often poorly understood by Japanese speakers due to cultural differences in the expression of humor and indirect communication. This difference in communication styles may lead to misunderstandings or misinterpretations. Finally, the use of car horns. In Russia and Ukraine, using your horn frequently is common, even in minor traffic situations. In Japan, however, horn use is extremely rare, even in frustrating traffic situations. While this speaks to different levels of aggression or impatience, it may also reflect cultural norms emphasizing politeness and avoiding unnecessary disturbance. Waiting for a bus for 20 minutes or more in the snow is a common and accepted reality in Russia and Ukraine. But in Japan, even a 1-minute delay can cause significant disruption and complaints due to their expectations of punctuality and efficiency. The prevalence of public transportation in Japan leads to a higher level of expectation for timely service. The cultural emphasis on order and precision leads to high standards of service across all industries.